You know the feeling. The exact second you stop paying attention to your diet, your budget, or your closest relationships, they start to unravel. It takes intense, continuous effort just to keep things exactly where they are. Yet we are surrounded by stories that promise a finish line. We are sold the dream of passive income, the guarantee of happily ever after, and the soothing idea that the universe naturally wants to settle into a peaceful, harmonious balance. These stories set a dangerous psychological trap. They convince us that if we just build a system well enough the first time, if we find the perfect routine or life partner, it should eventually run on autopilot. So when the routine inevitably breaks down, we assume we did something wrong. We feel incompetent. But we aren't failing at life. We are just crashing headfirst into the baseline physics of reality. Curious, historical tone. Over 2,000 years ago, the Roman poet and philosopher Lucretius wrote a massive text called Of the Nature of Things. He wanted to explain exactly how the physical world operates, and his conclusion offered zero room for the idea of a peaceful, resting universe. Lucretius argued that at the absolute bedrock of reality, there is no master design. There is only what he called atoms and the void. Because these tiny particles are in a state of continuous, violent collision, absolute stillness is a physical impossibility. The default state of existence is noise and friction. If you manage to arrange those atoms into an ordered structure, you haven't achieved a permanent victory. You have created an unnatural anomaly that the universe will immediately try to dismantle. This rule of physical decay applies directly to human organization. In the 18th century, Jean-Jacques Rousseau took this exact premise and applied it to human biology and civilization in his treatise, The Social Contract. Rousseau laid out a harsh, unavoidable rule for any structure we create. He wrote, "The body politic, as well as the human body, begins to die as soon as it is born and carries in itself the causes of its destruction. Every system has an expiration date. A body metabolizes toward aging. A corporation scales until communication breaks. A government spawns loopholes and corruption. Order is never a finished product you put on a shelf. It is a highly temporary, precarious state of being that is constantly bleeding energy." Rousseau theorized about an early state of nature, a time when humans lived in relative isolation. With no property to maintain and no complex social ties, early humans required very little active energy to exist in a simple equilibrium. The moment we decided we wanted property, deep relationships, and organized cities, we exited that simple state. We traded a low-energy existence for an incredibly complex, highly unstable condition. With complexity comes what Rousseau called a centrifugal force, the continuous pressure causing individual interests to pull apart. Every time you add a new responsibility or law, you stretch the system, weakening the bonds holding it together. A peaceful society, a thriving business, and a healthy marriage are not natural ecosystems that take care of themselves. They are fragile, high-maintenance constructs constantly under siege by the physics of separation. What happens to these massive human projects when we stop applying the active, unifying energy that Rousseau calls the general will? When the maintenance stops, peak human organization dissolves right back into the void. Look at the Roman Forum, or consider the Parthenon in Greece. Even the greatest philosophical and structural achievements of human history cannot withstand the baseline physical law of decay. A regression to dust, anarchy, or tyranny is not an accident of history. It is the absolute, guaranteed outcome for any system left on its own. When you look at your own daily struggles through the lens of ancient physics and political philosophy, the exhaustion starts to make sense. Your life doesn't constantly threaten to unravel because you are lazy or flawed. It falls apart because decay is the ruthless default setting of the universe. There is no such thing as passive success. You cannot build a permanent, unmoving structure in a universe made exclusively of vibrating atoms. Order is not a noun. A profitable business, a healthy body, a functional relationship, these are not finished objects you acquire. They are continuous, active verbs. We have to stop waiting for a finish line where we can finally put our tools down and stop trying. All beauty, all structure, and all success must be aggressively and continuously paid for with human energy.